Hello and welcome back to the sideboard here at StarCityGames.com Open Series in Cincinnati. We're in round 6. I'm sitting here with Ryan Hipp, who is 5-1. How you doing?
I'm great.
And you have a nice deck here. You have there's been a lot of the red devotion strategies, red-green, red-white. You are now mixing it up with red-blue, thanks to Journey into Nyx, Mana Confluence, and the red-blue Temple of Epiphany. How'd you come to this deck?
So, Izzet Guildgate wasn't quite cutting it, as many people noticed.
Right.
And so, the problem I had with red-white was that, like, Chain the Rocks was very often just getting blown out. Like, your removal spell, they could rift it, they could decay it, they could desphere it. And so, I wanted something they couldn't play around, which is Turnbria.
Yes.
And it's been absolutely amazing. It always 2-for-1s. And then also in blue, you get things like Cyclonic Rift and Ralzeric, which, like, untapping Nykthos is adorable. Right. But like bolting them to recur a Chandra's Phoenix is also very reasonable.
So you have the usual people you see in the red deck: Ash Zealot, the Phoenix, Stormbright Dragon, Boros Reckoner. The list goes on. Everyone knows these creatures: Burning Tree Emissary, Frostburn Warrior. But the blue splash, as you said, the card that no one's playing around, Turn and Burn. A card like Turn and Burn,
yep,
while great when it's unknown, maybe when they see your deck list, not as easy. But when they don't know what you're playing, sure, picking off anything is something you can do. Frostburn Weird, obviously your early 2 drops are good. Basically the stock list, but I just can't get over the Ralzeric, Turn Burn combination here. You say it's cute, but I've seen people, and I believe you mentioned earlier, Ralzeric the Nykthos, to play
Nykthos.
A dragon and then monstrous at same turn.
Yeah. So you get like
powerful.
a Burning Tree and an Ash Zealot, and you're just like, all right, float 4 with 3 mana, and then like Stormbright Dragon, and you can refloat 6 off the Nykthos, and then it's absolutely good.
Quite strong. Also with Banishing Light running around pro-white is pretty good to have.
And same with Cyclonic Rift, you can overload it off of a Nykthos, which is just like very dirty. Yes.
Now you've been bouncing around a lot of brews. I saw you playing like Bant mid-range with Afara, then you moved to the Esper Humans deck, Naya Hexproof. Why did you decide to be attacking with red creatures today?
So I was a little worried about people having things like Diacide, and like I was really worried about like the black-green devotion deck, and the decks I had, like Naya Hexproof, I was ready to play it. Then like all of a sudden everybody wrote about it, and it was not such a great choice. And people have Devour Flesh, Gugari Charm, Decay, and I didn't want to play that mirror all day. So I was thinking back, like what deck like really had a good matchup against Mono Black Devotion, at least in my experience.
Right.
And I was like the red-white deck, because you have decent removal that they couldn't get rid of usually. But then you have the Chain the Rocks problem, and so I went back to red, and I'm like, well, I played a deck like this before Born of the Gods. We had like really bad mana. I helped the mana's there. I want to try it again, and it's been going very well.
Right. No longer have the Izzet Guildgate. Now, you mentioned earlier you had won an IQ with a deck similar to this, pre all of this better mana.
Yeah, with Izzet Guildgates and whatnot. It was a smaller one, but no one played around Turnburn, and it was very good all day.
Now, the interesting part was you said you had considered playing Prophetic Flame Speaker over the Phoenix, correct?
Yes.
But you explained how you came to the conclusion not to do that.
So the idea was in a build that I had, there was like 3 Pyromasters and like 1 more Cyclonic Rift. You can play a Flame Speaker, and the next turn you can like realistically hit with it. Remove their blocker, or the blocker can't block, tap it down, etc. But then you can't do anything with the cards you drew off the Flame Speaker. And so I went back to Phoenix because you actually have enough ways to recur it. And it's devotion and it's haste, and it's more along the aggressive plan you want to be on because you're not pumping it with anything.
Right.
I mean, not really anything. Peripherals counts, I guess.
And that's the interesting about the Phoenix in this deck. A lot of the red decks rely on burn spells to bring it back. You have 4 Planeswalkers, Chandra and Ralzeric, both can deal the damage to get the Phoenix back.
He's a red Planeswalker, and he deals damage to players.
Yes. Now, the sideboard is pretty spicy. One card in particular, you might remember it from some Gatecrash drafts.
Yeah.
3 of Aether Otters.
Yeah. So with all like Naya Hexproof and a lot of the like white aggro decks and like Brave Elements and all that, Anger sometimes wouldn't get the job done. Their Hexproof guy would be too big, or they would have Brave, or something along those lines. And like even against like the Dredge deck, like sometimes Anger was just like I get your 1/1 and your Mana Dork, and then you just play this 7/7, and I can't do anything. And so Aether Eyes, not only does it like bounce all of their attacking guys. You can actually set it up where it's like, I'm going to turn my guy sideways to, like hold up this turn burn, so if you block, you have bad blocks, and if you crack back, I can just like bounce your team and hit you again next turn.
Yeah, seems pretty good.
Yeah. So like it allows a lot of like trickery kind of thing, but it's I don't know, it's been very good all day.
Seems also good with all the tokens running around.
Yeah, like sometimes you get Advent tokens and Call of the Conclave tokens and
just flat out removal.
It's very, very good.
Now you got one more card here from Journey into Nyx. Harness, what is it? Harness by Force.
Yeah. It's active treason with kicker. Sometimes you have Nykthos and you take their team, Insurrection, and you just smack them. That's
Insurrection and Commander All-Star coming to the competitive tables thanks to Nykthos and Red Devotion.
Great.
Now, of course, your sideboard's got some other stuff. You've got Negate.
Negate.
To help the blue mix.
Yeah, so like against the burn decks, like certain negates are just very clutch at certain times, and against the control decks, like hitting an Elspeth like just can buy you infinite time. Hitting a poorly timed D-Sphere or something on your Peripherals like can actually help a lot.
Yeah, and Elspeth seems pretty tough to deal with in this deck when you don't have a lot of trample.
Yeah, well, I mean you can go under it
sometimes,
and Stormwrath Dragon helps. You can rift the tokens like. It's not unbeatable,
right?
But it's certainly once they get to 6 and have revved and they're in command of the game, a lot of them are on like the 1 Elspeth, 1 Elixir, and then you're okay because it's like you can get through it. Still.
Another card in the main board we didn't touch on: 2 Peripherals. You have a third in the board. What's the best case scenario with this card?
So best case scenario is like you play one of these guys on 2, and then Burning Tree Nykthos and play him on 3. And then he's like nuts, your turn 3 Peripherals. But the reason I'm only playing 2 main is because enough people have like Banishing Light and D-Sphere. It's just like you play it and then it gets D-Sphered and it didn't do anything.
Right.
So there's a third one on the board because in the matchup they don't have those cards, or like I'm relying on like bringing in the 2 other Rifts to get like any turn bounce, get my God back. When they don't have like Diacide and Unravel, then I bring in another one, and it's that's the plan.
Seems pretty good. You've got some Mizium Mortars, some Hammers of Peripheros, a few other things. Your 2 extra Cyclonic Rifts.
Yeah.
Where are the Hammers coming in?
So the Hammers are kind of similar, like when you want to slow it down. So against like the Black Devotion decks and the Esper decks, when it's another thing that they have to deal with. It came in against the burn deck too, or one of them came in against the burn deck because like you're just racing in that matchup and then it can be fine. But yeah, I didn't want a main deck because of the Gagari Charms, the Abrupt Decays that people playing off the Temple of Maladies now.
Yeah, with this deck you have nothing for them to target with Deicide
except for two Red Gods game 1.
Yeah.
And if they have it and I have it, like it happens. But sometimes it's dead in their hand as they get beat down by Stormwrath Dragon.
So what matchup are you trying to avoid with this deck?
The Dredge one was rough. That's my 1 loss today. But other than that, like it's one of the closer to a combo deck, one of the closest things to a combo deck we have in the format.
Right.
And so you don't really like you're interactive with enough. You're non-interactive, I should say, where you're just killing them.
Yeah.
So that's I don't know. I wouldn't say it has any matchup below like 30%. Like there's probably a wall deck out there that's like Nyx Fleece Ram and Phoenix or something that I don't want to play against, but.
There is an Esper deck running around with main deck Fleece Main.
That's a card I want to avoid because it's just like
Fleece Ram.
It just like blanks you on the ground and you have to like burn something to get rid of it, and then they play Elspeth and you're just you already burned your cards. It's rough.
Well, I hope you dodge those matchups. Hopefully you don't play against any wall decks at 5-1 at this point, but you never know.
That's the hopeful point.
Well, for Ryan Hipp, I am Nick Miller on the sideboard. Stay tuned for more action here at StarCityGames.com. Open Series in Cincinnati.